They're having a conversation and she's like, if these kids come around 5 years later, what does that look like? And I'm thinking, come in his life 5 years later. They're in his life now. I don't know if you guys have seen the TikToks. He is very much in these children's lives. Like, the fact he's lying about this and not correcting her when she's making certain statements is wild to me. Okay guys, episode 10 and 11 of Love is Blind. Let's get into it. I'm just gonna start off by saying this. Seeing these 2 episodes, I'm worried. I'm not filled with hope in a lot of these couples. Do you know what? Let's not waste time. Let's just get straight into it. For these 2 episodes, I'm gonna break down episode 10 and episode 11. And yeah, I'm gonna go through each couple basically. We start off with Nick and Hannah. They're taking their pictures. He keeps making comments about her having her heels on and being taller. Clearly we're seeing his insecurities coming through. And then a few days later we see that they're on a date at like an assortment course, rock climbing place. And she's saying, you know, are you ready? Do you see yourself being ready for marriage in 2 weeks? What's interesting, side note, it's always the women checking in with the men. Are you ready? Never the men. Just gonna put that out there. Anyways, she says, are you gonna be ready within 2 weeks? He's like, yeah. And she's like, well, I don't see you taking initiative in like initiating sex, bringing up more deep conversations. And so yeah, he voices, you know, she doesn't treat him like an equal. She's always talking down to him. We see this, and I don't know, I feel like Hannah doesn't really take accountability. Accountability, not one of Hannah's strongest points. And yeah, her response to him is just basically, you need to step up. So in this moment, I'm like, I don't know if I see Hannah and Nick making it, if I'm honest. Because I'm like, yes, Nick definitely needs to step up, but on the flip side, Hannah just doesn't see any of her wrongs. In my notes, I did ask your opinion, but do you see them making it? But we do see what happens later on. We'll get into that in a bit. So yeah, then they're getting ready for the party. They're having like a Great Gatsby theme party, and Nick mentions he's looking forward to seeing Katie, who apparently he had a connection with and they were each other's number one. We saw none of that. Like, Love is Blind, show us more. That's one thing. Comment below if you feel the same. I know it's a lot to try and cram in, but I feel like there's so much we miss out on. And maybe if they gave us more episodes, we could see more of that. But that's Hannah and Nick on episode 10. So on to Marissa and Ramses. So we get back to them, and it seems like they're struggling with their differences, like their timeline for having kids, their sex life in general. Ramses says that they're dealing with physical and intimacy issues. And yeah, he's not going to force her to do anything. But it seems like this is just the residue of their last conversation, where he's basically saying he doesn't want to have sex with a condom, right? I think that's the main issue there. And I feel like Marissa is like, I think that really struck a chord with her when she heard that. Like, you're meant to be this progressive person, yet you have these views and you want me to go on the pill and you don't care about what it's going to do to my body. I think that stayed with her. It would with many women. Like, the next day you're looking at the person like, huh? You know, so they're like having this conversation, but it seems like they don't want it on camera. They're skirting around things. Marissa does strike me as someone who likes things on the outside to everyone to seem like it's all good. So she doesn't want to, they're not saying what it actually is, but we can all pretty much figure out what it is. Anyway, he reassures her, you know, he does want to marry her. Marissa doesn't seem convinced. And I think I mentioned this later on in my notes, like, she's continuously asking him, are you sure you want to get married? Do you see yourself getting married? Like, even when he reassures her, I don't think she's in her heart of hearts believing what he's saying. And yeah, later on, Marissa and Ramses, they're like planning out their wedding. And again, she asks him, do you have any doubts? Do you have any worries? And he's basically saying, you know, there's nothing that's going to derail him. And again, I don't feel like Marissa is convinced. I feel like it's a head and heart. Like, her heart wants it to be Ramses. Like, she's like, this is my man, I can see a future with him. But her head and her gut is speaking loudly to her, and she's trying to ignore it. That's what I feel like I'm getting. But guys, comment below your thoughts. But yeah, overall with the two of them, they just have so many differences that I don't think they've worked through. Like, their views on the military, when it comes to sex, like her not wanting to go on the pill, him wanting that, their timeline for having kids. There's just so much I'm like, I don't know. Let me take a sip, because yeah, now on to Tim and Alex. So yeah, they go to meet his parents. Tim's parents, by the way, gorgeous. Like, Tim looks like his parents. But yeah, his parents, beautiful couple. I can just imagine what they looked like when they were younger. Interesting. So Tim is named after his dad. Tim's dad is called Tim Sr. So his mum refers to Tim as Drake. I'm guessing that's his middle name. So that threw me off a bit at first when she kept saying Drake. But yeah, very cute. Alex is reassuring his family. If they do get married, it's for life. But she's reassuring them on, if it happens, it will be for life. She's not reassuring them that it's going to happen. And that was something I picked up as I was watching it. Again, spoiler alert, we know what happens. We'll get into that in a bit. So yeah, the meeting seems to go okay. Tim sits down with his parents. They have a chat and they're just giving him advice. It was a good meeting, but it didn't fill me with they're meant to be. And last episode they got me, but I think it's because it just was so emotional. Anyway, fast forward now. Parents have left, and you can see Tim wants to have a conversation with Alex. And I feel like Alex knows, and she's just, heating up her food, taking her time. He's just like, okay, can we talk? And she's like, okay. And we find out, after when Tim's parents came to visit, once the camera's cut, Alex went to go sleep. Let me know your thoughts on that, by the way. I'm going to get into my thoughts, but I want to know how you took the minute the cameras were off, she went to go sleep. But, and I'm getting the feeling like she's like, we spent 4 hours talking about you and how I can help you. And that it just seemed like she didn't like the fact they had to talk so much about Tim. And it's interesting because when they met her family, he was basically the chef and the butler. He was cooking it up for her and cooking up for the whole family and setting the table and everything, just doing the most to accommodate the family, right? And he felt, okay, that's his choice or whatever, you could argue, but he understood it was about Alex on that day. And I feel like she didn't like it had to be about him. Although I say all that, I do have my thoughts on Tim, and I had these thoughts on the first few episodes when we saw them in the pods, and they've come back now, like my worries. I'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, right at this moment, it's feeling like anytime he brings up an issue, straight away she's defensive. She's not necessarily hearing him out like, I can understand why you feel like that. I'm sorry I made you feel like that. It's because of this. It's because of that. So then we hear throughout the day he was messaging her. She wasn't really responsive. So it's not, Alex is not being painted in the best of lights here. We're looking at her a bit sideways, right? But then hearing her speak more is making me see both sides. And it's like there are two sides to every story. And I think it's just a case of these two just aren't well suited for each other. And she even says, I'm not saying it's all on you and I'm not saying it's all on me. And I get where she's coming from, because when he's messaging her, she's being short with her answers. And he's like, oh, I think there was an issue with her car or something. And he's like, maybe you should try this. She's like, okay. He says something else and she doesn't respond. And then she's like, she doesn't like texting. So she tries to call him. He's like, I don't really want to talk right now, because he's in his feelings now. And she had stated before, Alex is someone who gets annoyed frequently and easily. It's easy to get under her skin, so she can get in her feelings. And so messaging is not going to be productive, because she's going to be short. You're going to read the messages in a certain tone. So she's like, it's better to get on the phone. But the minute Tim's in his feelings, he doesn't want to speak on the phone, right? So it's like, I can see both sides. They're both playing parts in this, right? And yeah, him refusing to answer her call, it is a bit passive aggressive. But again, guys, comment below your thoughts on Tim and Alex, because I don't know if many people are going to agree with me on this. But I sense this. If you go back to the first few episodes when they were in the pods, I clocked this of Tim. Like, Alex would express something, and I was saying, I don't know if it's the way in which it's edited, but Tim just went on to talk about himself. Like, I feel like Tim is an emotional person and needs everything. It feels like a lot of times he likes it being about him, if that makes sense. But yeah, then Tim's just like, do you know what? I don't see this working, basically. And Alex is in shock because she's like, I didn't take lightly introducing you to my dad. That was literally 2 days ago. And you just want to end it now? But yeah, and he's just like, let me see what he says. He says, yeah, with that in mind, I don't ever want to see you again. And it's just like, I got this sense from Tim from the jump. If it's not running accordingly to how he wants and his, I don't know, it's not going to his schedule of how he wants things to be and about him and everything, he's out. And he had all these issues with her, like the fact he cooked for her family and was so accommodating and got back and had to do the dishes. He had these issues, all these other things, and never brought them up until now when he's ending things. And it was jarring because it was so off guard for him to just act like that in the moment. And it was like, for us, of like, yeah, okay, he's just ending things. But I can't say I'm completely surprised because I saw this side of him a bit when watching them in the beginning in the pods. The fact that everything has to be about Tim. That's the vibe I'm getting. So then now let's talk about Ashley and Tyler. So they're back at home again. It's where we left them in the last episode because they're still in those grey sweatsuits. Ashley's like, you know, she doesn't hate him. She's just trying to navigate her feelings. So I'm getting the vibe she's gonna forgive him. Even in the last episode, they hugged. She said she loved him. It's seeming like they're getting through this. So Ashley basically asked him to tell me everything, you know? And he says, you know, I was just a sperm donor for my friends. And from what I've been looking up online, it was more than that. And she even asked, like, do you know what the kids look like? And he's like, no, I don't know what they look like. And I'm like, diabolical. He's lying. Because we've seen what I've looked up and seen. There's videos and pictures of him spending time with these children. Them referring to him as the father. Granted, his friend is, I won't say she's lesbian, if not bisexual, but everybody seems to be saying she's lesbian. And there was no like romantic connection between them, and he was doing her a favor, but he's very much in these children's lives. They spent Christmas together, even though he said he spent Christmas alone. So yeah, not only is he admitting, he's now also lying. So yeah, that's Ashley and Tyler for that episode, the general gist. I'm getting the vibe they do get married, but I don't know how I feel about this. We'll get onto it in the next episode. But Taylor and Garrett, guys. So they go to this calligraphy workshop to create like stations for their wedding where people can leave them messages. Very cute. In this moment, we find out Garrett's mum may not want to come to the wedding. So you're like, okay, my thoughts were correct in the last episode when we met the family. They didn't seem to be on board with all of this, you know? So yeah, that's pretty much that on them. And then we see them getting ready for the fancy dress Great Gatsby party or whatever. And we see that they're going to San Diego the next day to meet Taylor's family. Now, on their way to the party, we then see we've missed something. Love is Blind. Why do we keep missing the key moments? At this point, I feel like they're doing it on purpose. Like, it's been filmed and they decide not to show it. I don't know. How are they missing all of the biggest key moments? Unless the cast are deciding the biggest moments we talk about off camera. I don't know. But yeah, so we find out Garrett, because I'm like, there's tension here. Garrett's ex has texted him and in this moment, Taylor doesn't like that apparently he just liked the message. Because she's like, you should have shut it down, leave her on red. And he's saying he just liked it, or he replied, or it was nothing crazy. We don't fully know in this moment. And now I'm just going to talk about the party as a whole, because there's loads of different characters that come in and stuff, so cool. Tim and Alex do show up to the party. I am surprised, but then I see Monica comes. Stephen doesn't come, actually, now I think about it. But yeah, and all the old people from like the pods come as well. So we see Bowden. I'm just going to get into him real quick and just express. So he comes. Marissa's like very like, oh my God, it's Bowden. Whatever they speak, they have their moment. But deep down, she's just like, do you know what? This hasn't swayed me. Ramses is the guy for me. It's given, with her and Bowden, it's given friend vibes, basically. We then see Katie arrive. And I'm like, oh gosh. Because obviously Nick was saying he's interested to see Katie, have a conversation. And Hannah, I feel like it's a bit of a power move. She arrives and she's like, do you know what? Let me take you to go meet Nick. Let me be there for this initial interaction. And I'm like, power move up or tongue in cheek and all that stuff. But I'm also like, this is good. So at least she can see their initial interaction for herself. Nobody is telling her how it was when they first spoke or anything like that. She can see it with her own eyes. So that's good. So then we see Garrett and Taylor. They're sat with Ashley and Tyler. Garrett is telling Tyler, he actually responded to his ex. And Taylor gets upset because as far as she was aware, it was just him liking the message. Now she's hearing his message. And he did say, all he said was, we can't really speak like this anymore. I've met someone else. I'm very happy. Like, we need to end things. Basically, that's what he was saying. And yeah, have a great life. But obviously Taylor is upset because he was omitting this information when he said all he did was lie. Well, he was also lying. So then later on, they have more of a conversation and she's like, you omitting that information is worrying to me, basically, because it's like, you told me you just liked it. Now I'm hearing you message. Like, how can I trust you, basically? And initially he's fighting back like it's the same thing. And then he takes full accountability, which, I don't know, I am rooting for Taylor and Garrett, I'll be honest. And I like that he was in defense mode at first, but then he finally took full accountability. But part of me does want to see the messages because I want to know exactly what did he say. Because the fact that he said he just liked it, and then we hear he did message, and then he says what he messaged, I'm like, is he... In this moment, I'm thinking, is he sugarcoating what he said and did he say a bit more? Because now we can't fully trust you, Garrett, unfortunately. But comment your thoughts below on that whole Taylor, Garrett, him messaging the ex and all of that. So then we see Ashley and Hannah having a conversation and she's talking about, how she can broaden Nick's horizons and make him better. In many aspects we've seen, like, financially and how he thinks and all these things. And then she moves on to in the bedroom and how he doesn't go down on her. And my thing is this, these are conversations you're gonna have with your girls. To have them with your girls on camera, talk about your man saying, for the world to see that your man is not pleasing you is a bit, I don't know. But I want to know, what are your thoughts on building up a partner and making them better? At what point is it too much building and it's time to walk away? Because Hannah is talking about there is a lot that she's doing. So yeah, we see Katie and Nick talking. We find out there's a 7-year age gap. She's 35, he's 28. And she's, saying it didn't matter to her. And, they're talking about how they were each other's number ones and how much they liked each other. But essentially, Katie is happy for him that he's met someone else. And she just wants him to be better, do better. And is giving him advice on how to be great for Hannah. And just saying, you lead with your charm and your charisma, but you've got a lot more to you. Lead with that. So it was a nice moment. You could see, like, they were building up to seem like more than what it was. Although, Nick, I will say, in all of that, you're saying, you're happy with Hannah, you're saying all the right things, but then you'll say things like, but I saw your Instagram. It's a very nice Instagram. You look very pretty. All this stuff. If you're that happy with Hannah, you don't need to be making those comments. And this is where Nick goes wrong for me. But yeah, so that's their conversation. It was nothing that I was like, red flag on her part. Him, some of the compliments he could have kept to himself. But all in all, that's that. That's them. That's episode 10. Episode 11, guys. This was interrupted by some good news. That's all I'm going to say for now. Yeah. I am on a high. But Hannah and Nick were not. So they get home after, the party, meeting up, and they're talking about Katie, right? Hannah is asking Nick, what were you and Katie talking about? And instead of Nick to reassure Hannah and be like, tell her exactly what it is they're talking about, he asks her, oh, do you feel some type of way about it? And it's just like, you really could have reassured her in that moment. But eventually he lets her know he was just speaking with her, trying to find out, like trying to get to the bottom of why things ended, why she like left him essentially. And Hannah's like, okay, that's a 3-second conversation. Why were you talking for 40 minutes? And she's like, that's my best friend in the whole world. And I'm just like, in the whole world? That's a big statement. You literally just met this girl. I'm sure you've had other friends before her. And she keeps going on at Nick about how immature he is. To declare that someone is your best friend in the whole world and you literally met them a week ago, that's also giving immature Hannah. Self-awareness. Is it in the room with us? And then, yeah, speaking of immature, she goes on to let Nick know she's taken him from a boy to a man. Hannah likes putting Nick down. And my thing is, yes, you should want to make your partner better, like vice versa. Partners should make each other better, and you should want to do that. The minute you throw it in, and you should want to do it through love, right? But the minute you're throwing it in their face and using it in an argument, it's time to leave. Like, now it doesn't feel like it's being done with love. And yeah, Hannah's bringing up, Katie was mentioning that Nick is so attractive. And Nick, rightly so, is like, what has that got to do with me? That was Katie saying that. I didn't. That's your best friend in the whole wide world, by the way. So they're going back and forth, and Hannah's like, I'm not happy with this. Like, I was speaking with Ashley, and I was so excited to finally show you my fun side like I was in the pods. And Nick is like, well, whose fault is that you're not showing me? And fair play to Nick. Like, what are you saying? Facts. And that's not the only thing, Hannah, you were talking about with Ashley. You were calling him out in front of the cameras, in front of the world, letting it be known that he's not pleasing you sexually. Anyways. So yeah, so when Nick, one thing I didn't like, when Nick is bringing fair points, because anytime Hannah brings something up, Nick is like, do you know what? You're right. I need to do better. And he'll acknowledge it. Anytime Nick is making any points, Hannah wants to be like, okay, do you know what? Let's just go to bed. Or she'll change the subject and make a joke or little things like that. And it's like, Hannah, maybe you're not as mature as you think you are. So anyways, fast forward to the next day and they're meeting Hannah's friends. And, it doesn't go well. But yeah, Nick is bringing up, it's tough for me because I feel like I'm having to change a lot of who I am to be right for her. And she's basically saying, you don't have to change anything. And in my head, I'm thinking, that's not what you were saying the night before. And they both have fair points. Like, the things she's asking in the grand scheme may not be major things. But also, it's like, yes, you can get on at Nick and say you need to change this, you need to change that. But are you taking a look at yourself? Because it feels like Hannah views that there is nothing wrong with her. And the only reason they're not going to work is because Nick has everything wrong with him and he needs to change it. I don't know if I'm reading that wrong, guys. Comment below your thoughts on that. But yeah, so it just feels like there's a lot of talk about what Nick needs to change. We're not seeing much on Hannah. Anyway, fast forward to the next day. Hannah sat with her mum and it seems like there's issues with her and Nick. Because her mum was here. They were meant to be going to the wedding dress fittings. And it seems like Hannah doesn't want to go and her and Nick need to have a conversation. She's letting her mum know her and Nick don't match in any way, by the way. She's like financially, mentally, creatively, like any way, shape or form, they're not matching. I'm like, Hannah, do you actually like this man? Do you want to marry this man? And yeah, she says her friends don't like him. We could have spotted that a mile off from their meeting. And like she expresses to her mum her frustrations, and she feels like she's teaching him how to love and be in a relationship. And I'm thinking, correction. You feel like you're teaching him how to love you and be in a relationship, because it's like these are things you feel like specifically you need for you. But I don't feel like she's taking his needs into account. That's just my thoughts, but I could be wrong. I am so open to hearing you guys' thoughts on Hannah and Nick. So yeah, they don't go to the wedding dress shopping or the suit fitting, and Nick comes and they sit down and they speak. And I don't know, I just felt like all her issues, let me put this down. All her issues she had with him, I feel like they're issues she has herself, like confidence versus ego. She feels like she continuously has to stroke her ego. He kind of has to do the same, and I feel like they mirror each other in a certain way. As much as she feels like she is more mature than him in certain aspects, she is. They both have this level of immaturity, I will say. And she's constantly talking down to him like she's his teacher. Like, what did you do wrong? Why do you feel like this is wrong? Why do you... Like, there is no accountability or any acknowledgement that there could be something she's doing wrong in this relationship, which all her points are valid, but the awareness of herself is not there, if that makes sense. And he even brings up how she's constantly bashing him, and she just shuts it down. She does that a lot. When she's pulled up on her behavior, she shuts it down. She doesn't really take accountability. She either shuts it down, makes a joke, or changes the subject. But then we see her breaking the fourth wall, and she said, she called him and said, I don't think we should go wedding dress shopping. She doesn't think she should go wedding dress shopping or the suit. He should do the suit fitting because she doesn't see them working out. And his response is, you're going to make me look bad. And I do see that element of Nick where he is concerned with public perception. And I do feel like there's moments where he's saying the right thing. Like when she's calling him out, he will be like, yeah, it's true, I need to do better. And not actually voice how he's feeling in order to look like the good guy. So again, they're both, I don't know if they're suited. Okay. And she's basically saying, I don't see this working. He expresses this is the worst feeling in his life. And, he says like maybe he could have done better. But then when he sat by himself, like speaking to camera, he expresses she ended it because she thought he was going to say no at the altar. And I'm thinking, did she actually express this to him off camera and we didn't see it? Or is this him just trying to save face? I'm not 100% sure. Let me know your thoughts below, what you think, which one you think is the truth. But yeah, they end things, even though they both say to each other they love each other, it would seem they're ending things. So that's that on Hannah and Nick. I guess that's the end of them. What an end. Like I said, I didn't see them making it to the end anyway. But yeah, accountability, not Hannah's friend, I will say. So then we have Taylor and Garrett going to San Diego, and we see Taylor saying, she hasn't slept all night, she was up crying, and she's speaking more about obviously Tyler messaging his ex and her saying the messages were more friendly. So I'm thinking, okay, did she look at the messages and see it was even more than what he said? We don't really get an answer to that. But yeah, I guess maybe they're just trying to safeguard that and protect their relationship to an extent. But the meeting with her family seems to go well. They give us like a little clip off of her phone. It seems like they already get on with him, and then we see him meeting her mum as well. In the previews, it looked like it was more intense than what it was. She seems to really take to him. It seems like the meeting with the mother goes well too. And then we get to, obviously, the wedding dress fittings. And I'm just going to say this. The first dress, I was like, Second dress, it had character. I liked the comments her mum made in it being simple, understated, but still having character. Very fitting for Taylor. I can agree. I love the pockets and all of that. It was cool. It wasn't your traditional wedding dress. What I will say, no shade, sorry, but all the wedding dresses from this place, they were not given. I'm gonna be so real. I wasn't feeling a lot of these wedding dresses. They were missing something. They were missing that wow factor, but I guess this is what they have to pick from. But yeah, 4 days before their wedding, they have, I guess, what you could call their final date. It seems to be in this is Taylor and Garrett, and it seems like they're in some form of science museum. There's like a galaxy background around them. They're having sushi. Very cute date, and it's just giving they're back on track. So good for them. They're the couple that I'm rooting for. They were my favorite couple in the start. Had a bit of a rocky moment in the pods, even after meeting the parents, but it feels like they are back on track. We'll see. So Tyler and Ashley in this episode, so they go-karting, and she's, after they've done go-karting, they're having a conversation, and she's like, I see you in my life no matter what. Like, I thought about all the different scenarios, and if these kids that you were a sperm donor to, as he said, come around 5 years later, what does that look like? And I'm thinking, come in his life 5 years later. They're in his life now. I don't know if you guys have seen the TikToks. He is very much in these children's lives. Like, yes, he had these kids with, like I said before, a friend of his who was lesbian, but it wasn't just sperm donor and not like present in their lives. These kids know he's his dad. They spent Christmas together. Like, the fact he's lying about this and not correcting her when she's making certain statements is wild to me. So yeah, Ashley is trying on the wedding dresses. She's getting emotional, and all I can think is Ashley going to go through this? I'm starting to look at it and be like, these two are giving they're actually going to get married. And are we not getting the full story of Tyler? Is it not as bad as what it's being made out to seem? Is he lying to her? Is he telling her the truth behind closed doors? I'm just like, I do really like Ashley, but I'm like, is she falling for the wrong person? I don't know. Like, looking at it's painful to watch. So yeah, 4 days before the wedding, they decide to go skydiving to symbolize, jumping into this marriage together as well and everything. It's always been a dream of hers. So they do it together, like, lovely moment. And they seem to be back on track, and they they go for a little picnic after. But I just can't get past these kids and what we're hearing about. Like, there just seems to be so many different sides. Like, the mother of the children saying, he's very much in their life, and she's posting pictures, and he owes this amount of child support, and him telling her she's only a sperm donor. Like, has he told her more? I'm just like, what is going on here? Because it seems like Ashley's like, that's mine and I'm gonna stick beside him type thing. Like, damn. I'm finding it hard to root for them. Had I not known all this outside noise, maybe I would be rooting for them more. I don't know. But I'm so interested to hear you guys' take on Ashley and Tyler, all the news we've heard about outside of all of this too. So yeah, that's Ashley and Tyler. Marissa and Ramses. They're at home filling out their marriage license certificate and just speaking about all of that. Marissa goes for her wedding dress fitting. The biggest plot twist in this whole 2 episodes, Marissa's mum speaking highly of Ramses. Huh? We saw what happened in the last episode. But as much as it is a plot twist, I said in my last review, we do see a soft side to Marissa's mum. It's just that she's been through a lot, which just makes her fiercely protective of her children. And that's what we were seeing. She's not a terrible person. She's just protective, I guess. And so we see that in her. I guess she seemed to like Ramses. So yeah, they're having their date 4 days before the wedding. And it's like they're on this boat with a hot tub. And Marissa's, sharing her thoughts on marriage. Like, she could go through 5 to 7 bad years of marriage. And the thing is, I've heard many people talk about this. There was Michelle Obama in an interview talking about there were many years where her and Barack were not good. And this is the thing with marriage. You have to fight through. It's not always going to be a bed of roses. But Ramses just seems like he's not really feeling that. And I can see why that would be for Marissa, especially knowing he's already divorced. That's going to bring worry. Okay, so the minute you feel like things are going to get hard, are you going to run? Like, I can see those questions coming up for it. They're coming up for me just watching it. And then we hear Ramses saying, obviously, his mum has reservations. And then they're just speaking about, you know, the whole process leading up to marriage. And she feels like Ramses could be doing more, like she's carrying a lot of the weight. And this worries her for when they have kids. Like, she's worried when they have kids, she will have to carry a lot of the mental load and he won't. And he's like reassuring her, you know, I will do better and I feel like we're good for each other. But essentially, that's what happens. I really don't know about these two, and I genuinely, one thing I really want to know is what everybody else thinks about Marissa and Ramses. I feel like they have too many difference, like their views on the military when it comes to sex, like him not caring about what it is she has to put through her body, and he's like, get on the pill, I don't want to use a condom, like all of these things. But military, especially, like their moral values, their core values, like if their child grows up and wants to be in the military, that's gonna be a mess. But yeah, so these past few episodes I've been worried about them, and then we fast forward, we see it's like 2 days before the wedding, things are awkward. I'm like, okay, something has gone down. The general gist of things is it seems like Ramses has spoke to someone and now he's having doubts. And I'm just like, are these two both going to say yes? I feel like they want to, but there's too many fundamental issues. Like I said, I genuinely want to hear what you all do think about Ramses and Marissa. But those were episode 10 and 11. Like, outside of Taylor and Garrett, I think they wanted to show us some issues they went through, but I think they're gonna get married. Outside of them, Tim and Alex, they've left. Monica and Steven left the last episode. Hannah and Nick left this episode. So all that's left is Tyler and Ashley, Marissa and Ramses, and then we have Taylor and Garrett. So 3 couples left. And I'm going to say this. Let me pause. Everybody, comment below the couples you think that are actually going to get married next week. I'm giving you time. Pause this. Comment the couples you think are gonna get married. Now let me say my piece. I think Garrett and Taylor are gonna get married. By the way, I don't know if I've spoken about this. Who's seen Garrett's glow up? He is looking 10 out of 10. That looks like a man in love. Like a woman is taking care of him. Anyway, so Garrett and Taylor, I do see them getting married. I feel like they can work through their issues. I think Tyler and Ashley are gonna get married. I don't know the full details behind what's going on behind the scenes with the children and all of that. He has been dishonest, but I do feel like Ashley's gonna do the whole stick beside him. I don't know how I feel about that. But I don't think Ramses and Marissa are gonna get married. I don't think they should either. I don't even think Tyler and Ashley should get married. But I don't know everything about them. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys see happening. We got the weddings next week. And guys, do you want to know what's so crazy? Do you want to know how in sync I am with Love is Blind? Next week, I actually have a wedding on Wednesday. So I am going to wake up early, get this review out for you guys, edit it, post it. And then I'm heading off to the wedding. To an actual wedding after I post the video. So I need to really just be on it. I need to wake up super early. But yes, that is everything. Guys, I really want to know your thoughts. There's so much to dissect in these 2 episodes. Again, love opposing opinions. I'm always open to hearing another side to things. And we are really heading towards the finish line. And this is the least confident I felt in couples. I may have some exciting news to announce to you guys at some point. Also, I have a series called Sunday Feels where I've been sitting down so far with my brother and my sister. So that drops every Sunday. There's 2 episodes out so far. If you haven't already, check them out. I feel like you would enjoy them. The feedback on them has been amazing to see. So yeah, I hope you guys do enjoy it if you choose to watch it. But yes, I'll be back next Wednesday with another review. As always, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. All that good stuff I'm meant to ask you to do, please do. And I'm just rambling now, and I don't really know how to end this, so I'm just gonna go.